Good day, everyone, and Happy New Year. Uh, Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are going to go ahead and do a brief introduction into the model compare utility from our CTC BIM project suite. So this will be just a brief introduction that will kind of cover the highlights and the base functionality of the tool and give you guys an idea of where to go ahead and get it. So traditionally, exchanging models between architects and engineers or engineers and other engineers, um, has kind of been based on communication. We don't always know what's been changed, how much has been updated or added or, demolished, designed, whatever the case may be. Someone says that something was changed in the design, but, based off their word of mouth, how do we know that it actually did change? Um, so one of the things that you could do is compare PDFs, whether that was visually looking at it, side by side, either in a PDF editor or, you print them out and look at them on your desk. There hasn't been something, at least up until recently, that had really taken care of it. What Model Compare will do for you is help you find some of those changes and those differences and where things have been updated or edited, deleted, whatever the case may be. So today, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where to find Model Compare and how to access it, kind of go over the interface, how to set things up a bit, how to customize some of your, snapshots is what we call them. Then I will go ahead and show you a comparison between two different versions of the same model, and then show you how to get your hands on the suite and open it up for any questions there at the end. So we'll just kind of get right into it then. All right, so what I've got is a model that we've used quite a bit for various demonstrations, and our model compare tool is found in our CTC BIM project suite. And just to make it easier to see, I'm going to pull it down from the ribbon. So you'll have your CTC software tab, and then on the BIM project suite, we've got a tool called Model Compare. So when you go ahead and open up Model Compare, you get a nice big empty dialog box. And that's because this is also a version of the reporting interface. So to actually set something like this up, what you do is you go ahead and just flat out hit Take Snapshot. And this allows you to go ahead and set up what you want to report on. So first thing, you go ahead and pick where you want to save your snapshot. So, say, just go ahead and save it here. And then what do you want to include in this report? So by default, our model compare tool is looking to take a snapshot of everything. Whatever we have access to in the Revit model and via the Revit API, we are going to go ahead and take a picture of that for this report. So depending on the size of the model that you're working with, this could be a huge file and it could take a long time. And actually, I take that back. It's not huge. It's not going to be bigger than your Revit file for them. And actually, it's only going to be a few percentage points of the actual file size. But it could take a while if you're taking a snapshot of, say, a 400 megabyte Revit model with 5 linked files, right? And 10 linked CAD drawings, for example. So it could take a while. So we have the ability to kind of filter this down so that you only are going to report on the stuff that you want. Example being, maybe you only are going to compare elements from a structural model. So then you can go ahead and uncheck this box to include all categories and edit this list and pick and choose the information that you want to go ahead and add to your report. So if we're doing a structural model, then maybe I just want to get my analytical stuff and boundary conditions and bridge info depending on the project. I'm just going to jump right down here to the bottom and grab all of this structural goods, right? So in theory, I could be done. Obviously, there's a lot more in here that I would need to grab for a structural report. And then you can be specific as to what types of data, the families, parameters within the families, line info, project information and parameter data, schedules, work sets, imports and links, warnings if it's a relatively new Revit model. Anything 2018 and newer, we can get warning info on, and go from there. Or you can say, oh, I don't care about lines, and I don't really care about slope parameters. I don't care about subcategories, maybe, or maybe you want to speed things up and you don't really worry about imports and links, right? So you can uncheck some of those options. Okay. And then you actually have the ability to save these settings. So if you wanted to create various settings files for the different types of models you're going to run comparisons on. Example, you want to compare your architectural models. So you make one for your internal architectural files or the files that you receive that are from them. Or you do structural sets. You can do mechanical and plumbing, or keep them separate: mechanical, plumbing, electrical, fire protection. However you want to go ahead and do this. It doesn't hurt to have a bunch of these. Okay, and then the idea then, I've got a set, so I'm just going to go ahead and load mine up here just to show you. And I did this for an architectural file. It's here. So I've removed a lot of the structural and mechanical, electrical, and plumbing information because to speed it up, because I'm not including a lot of that stuff in my architectural models. And then the different data types I want to include. And there's a where to search area, so we can go ahead and search by level, search by phase, or search by view, and search by elements in design options. Do we want to search everything or just stuff in the primary design option? So we can go ahead and parse this down even further as necessary. And then you would hit take snapshot. And depending on how much information you included, it will, it could take a few seconds up to, a number of minutes. Again, depending on the size of the Revit file that you're taking a snapshot on, and how much information you're trying to capture. So the idea here then is that you take snapshots either when you receive models from your consultants, or maybe on a weekly basis if you're trying to capture information on your internal projects, right? So then you can kind of start to tell when things are changing. Maybe you notice a spike in file size one day, and you had been taking semi-regular snapshots. Well, then that day you can take another snapshot and compare the two, right? And you can actually do this on a schedule if you'd like. So we have the ability to link this up to Windows Task Scheduler and schedule this to run, say, every night at 11 p.m. or every Thursday at 11 p.m. And then run weekly comparisons on this stuff to kind of gauge when things are changing, what's changing. If something accidentally disappears from the model, maybe we can find out when that happened and go back and try to recover that information. Or you receive a structural model from a consultant and you want to go ahead and make sure that information is being updated correctly or in a timely fashion per your requests. So you can go ahead and schedule this to run as often as you need to, or you can just run it on demand whenever you feel like it. So in this case, what I've done prior to us starting this session here is I've gone ahead and run 2 snapshots already, and just going to go ahead and show you that. So what you can do is hit the comparison feature here. So we have the ability to run a new comparison or open a previous one. So in this case, I'll just run a new one, and you get the ability to go ahead and pick the various snapshots that you've used. So you can hit browse and go find them based on where you've been saving them. And here I've got mine. So this is the one I want to use first. And this is the one I want to use next. And actually what I want to do is quick show you something. You may run into a situation where you try to compare snapshots that have been created with different settings. So now what you can do, it'll tell you that happened, And either you go back and pick a different file because you accidentally grabbed the wrong one, or you can go ahead and compare the filter settings that were used to see, what may have changed on accident, or, maybe it'll help you remember which filter file you used. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the appropriate one and hit OK. And actually, nope, that's right. You can actually customize your comparison settings as well, so it doesn't have to go through and grab everything. You can load in your own comparison settings. We have our own CPS file for that. I didn't create one for this, so I'm just going to go ahead and compare the two files. It's going to take a second. So while it's doing that, let me just make sure it starts correctly. Yeah, it's going. All right, so while it's doing that, I want to go ahead and just quickly show you where you can get your hands on the model compare tool if you guys don't already have it. So if you go to our website, ctcsoftware.com, and go to our products page here, you can go ahead and jump right to the BIM project suite. And within this page here, you can go ahead and download the suite, and you get a free trial for 14 days. And for those of you that aren't familiar with our tools, we kind of have two groupings of our tools. We have the free tools, and then we have the licensed tools. So when you download this, you get full access to everything in the suite for a full 14 days. Once that 14 days is up, the licensed tools or the paid tools will no longer work, and the free tools will exist, and you can use those as long as the tools are installed. And to show you kind of which ones those are, well, I can't right now. But on the project suite ribbon tab, there's the light green tools, and the light green tools are the free tools. And then there are dark green tools, and I can show you now. So the light green ones over here are free. These will work forever as long as it's installed. The dark green ones here are the licensed/paid tools. So those will expire after 14 days. And here we go. So now I've got a report that we can look at here. And what this here is going to do is show us what's changed about this particular file. So on the front end, general information, basically here it's just making sure, showing us file paths are the same, what reports we're working with here, or like when they were created, and some additional project information, how many views, if anything's been adjusted, schedules, families in loaded, phases, materials, so on and so forth. Then we have an elements tab. The elements tab is listing everything that's in the, kind of that we've loaded in or what's changed. So we have the ability to adjust what this report shows us here. So down here in the bottom left, we can adjust the comparison type and the parameters shown. So right now I've got it only showing different or non-existing. Non-existing meaning, was it deleted? So if I hit equal, it's going to change this, and it's going to show us everything. Okay, so I can expand families. Now it's going to show us all the families in the project. If anything is, we have a color legend over here explaining what you're seeing. Green, or this greenish color, means things haven't changed. Yellow means something has changed. Blue means it didn't exist before and it's new to the project. Or this orange/red means nothing existed, or it existed but now it doesn't because we deleted it. So what we can do now here is say come down to doors and find out what's changed about doors. Okay, so we've got a couple of families here that were adjusted. Okay, and we can see what about them was adjusted. So we've got dimensions that were changed, the height, the materials that were updated. So it went from a hollow metal frame to a wood frame. So we get to start kind of figuring out what's going on here. So this is a great way to gauge if the right work is being done, or what's been changing inside of your consultant models. Okay, and then as far as parameters go, So that'll go through every single element that you had reported on. And it's going to show extra information if you didn't adjust your, I guess, your report settings. So I didn't adjust that, so it's showing a little bit more than it needs to. And then in parameters, it shows that, okay, we've changed some dimensions and some areas have changed. I don't even know where. We can change this. Just show me what's different. So I'm going to parse this down a little bit so I don't have to scroll as much. And there we go. So we can see what dimensions are changing, what identity data. So we've got family name, type name, instance type, materials are being adjusted. Some other things are changed too. Oh, so you can see I made some new types. So it went from this door type at one point, and now it's this. So that shows me that someone renamed the family. Didn't duplicate it because it's not new. There was a physical change to this particular type. So it was renamed, and then additional adjustments were made to, say, the head height from 7 foot to 7'6", and things like that. So, and then at the end, you can get a report that will give you an idea or a kind of consolidated version here of showing everything that was adjusted. And you can go ahead and adjust that report as well. So I don't necessarily need to see absolutely everything that has not changed. Maybe I only want to see what's different and what's been deleted or what's new. So this will now give me that all the way through. And then we can save this, and this will save out to Microsoft Excel. And then we can open it in Excel and kind of get an idea of what it would look like there. So here it is, nothing looks like it just did a second ago inside of Model Compare. But then you can go ahead and save these, and then you can actually, if you wanted to, kind of compare reports as you go down the list and throughout the duration of the project. So, but yeah, that's it. And it's it's a pretty awesome tool, and this actually plays into another one of our tools that we have that there are other videos on our website regarding the BIM data suite. We use a version of Model Compare kind of to take snapshots for comparing, again, the model, but storing a lot of that information inside of a SQL database and then allowing it to be reported in other formats such as Power BI and as a default, but there's various other versions that will allow you to report on. So, and with that wraps it up. So I'm going to go through and check on questions now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. Let's see here. What are slow parameters? That is a fantastic question. Let me go back and get to that here. So it's oh, here we go. So sorry, just had a brain fart for a second. I apologize. But basically, the slow parameters are, I mean, effectively, here's the list. So, but basically what a slow parameter is we're working with a lot of coordinates. And the coordinates of elements that you wouldn't, of objects, basically in the model, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily always care about or very frequently care about at all. XYZ coordinates for the project start and end. And you can see there's quite a few of those. And for your crop boundaries and for just basically orientation coordinates. So a lot of this stuff is information that could be useful at some point in time, but it there's a lot more information there, and it takes a lot longer to write that data down and to report on that. And it's a lot of information that we don't necessarily always care about. So that's and this is a complete list of what the slow parameters are. So, all right, so next question is, I see that the report shows a location X and Y difference, but is there a way to select the item and have it select within the model easily? Many times the biggest coordination issues is when small adjustments are made to model elements location. No. As of right now, there is not a way to go ahead and quickly grab that, at least from our report here. So this is kind of like a separate window. However, if we had included it, which in this case we did, we do get element IDs. So we can I can double click inside here or hit F2 and I can copy the element ID and go back into Revit and search for it that way. So that's unfortunately the way we have to do it at this stage of the game. At some point, hopefully, we will be able to go ahead and kind of bring in that kind of back and forth workflow so that we can just kind of select it and it will, highlight in model for us. Yeah, but for right now, you just got to copy paste that element ID into, I'll show you this too. So we can, say copy this, and is it going to let me do it? Yep. I can go ahead and do select by ID, paste that in there, hit OK, or hit show, but I should just be able to hit OK. And it should have grabbed one of the doors here. Of course, let's do that again. This time I'll hit show. Oh, that's in the design option. That's why. That would explain it. That door's in a design option, so it doesn't always give you the right views. But in fact, you see what I'm getting at. That's how you go ahead and do it. So, see if there's any other questions here. Oops. All right, it doesn't appear there are any questions right now. I will keep this going and for a couple more minutes just to see if any other questions pop up. But as of right now, that concludes our demonstration today. So thank you all for attending, especially the day after New Year's. So we're a couple days after New Year's. I know it's been a holiday week for a lot of us. And so we do appreciate your guys' attendance. And hope you guys had a wonderful set of holidays.